Hey y'all, you know what time it is. Gotcha! Ha! Get into it! It's story time with Chris, and we're back. I hope everybody's had a good day. Am I wearing? Oh, I thought my shirt was backwards. I was like, oh no, that is just tacky. Had to make sure. Oh, it has been a busy, busy day, y'all. I hope everybody's had a wonderful, blessed day. Some of y'all have seen this mug before, but shout out to the Village Herb Shop. They always have some of the best steeping cups, tea cups, like, I'm my own little cat for it. And I don't owe the music that is playing in the background, which our selection for tonight is Wolf's Rain's first OST. And if you don't know what Wolf's Rain is, where have you been? It's an amazing anime. You need to check it out. It is available on Blu-ray, DVD. I almost said VHS. It's available on Blu-ray and DVD, and I'm pretty sure you can watch it digitally. Wolf's Rain is amazing. I wish there was like a novel version. Then I could read it. But there is a manga, but that's kind of hard to do on this platform. Unless somebody has any suggestions. If anybody ever would like me to like read or narrate a comic or a manga and wants to help set that process up, let me know. I won't keep y'all long. I know everybody's had a bit of a busy day. And if y'all have been noticing on social media, like I've been pushing myself to be a bit more confident in myself, and working hard to slim down, tone up, really get my body to an ideal form that is representative of me in the best way. And so I'm not working out consistently for anybody else but myself. I do it because in the beginning of this year, I was at 165, and I've never really been that size. I had jumped up 2 pant sizes, and it kind of made me uncomfortable, because I just wasn't used to being that big. And those will argue, like, Chris, you've never been big, but, like, yes, my arms are skinny, but I had a little bit of a belly, and my thighs and whatnot were getting big, so I was just like, this is not me. Like, this is not the best of what I know I am capable of. So in order to push myself and to have some self-gratification on top of that, I've been consistently working out after work, sometimes before work, and really getting into fitness and just doing for myself. No, I'm not looking for a trainer. No, I'm not looking to go to a gym. I have a wonderful gym where I work. It's private. It's nice. And I don't want to be... I'm never comfortable being in a larger gym setting because a lot of people like to do sideline coaching, which is kind of annoying. And plus, it's just not for me. I like to be in my own dojo, in my own world. So thank you for all that have been super, super, super duper supportive. All these letters are done. I have to send them off tomorrow. So for those who are local in Ohio, you should get yours within the next day. And for those who are out of town, probably get in the next few days. Which also brings me to another point. So I have a whole... Oh, shout out to Dark Star Bookstore. Because I have a whole other set of note cards for anybody that wants a letter. It could be, you know, just a letter of encouragement, or, oh, this is pretty. That one is pretty. It's got a beautiful, almost looks like a chrysanthemum, but I think it's an azalea. That's nice. There's a lot of cool prints in here. I'm a huge flower nut, if anybody is wondering. Anybody that, if you know, you know. Like, I've always loved growing up with flowers. I blame my Aunt Mary Alice, aka Auntie Smooches, for my love of floral prints. Her and my Aunt Diane. I have to blame them because I've always seen it as a very vintage and elegant style that I've always really loved. And on top of those new note cards, I also got postcards. I have a Studio Ghibli 100 collection postcard. So there are several postcards from all of the Studio Ghibli films up to the most recent one, with the exception of the CGI one that came out last year. Oh my gosh, what is it called? Earwig and the Witch, I think it was called. I don't have those in here, but I have Princess Mononoke, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, Castle in the Sky, My Neighbor Totoro, Grave of the Fireflies, Porco Rosso, Only Yesterday, Kiki's Delivery Service, Spirited Away, Cat Returns, Howl's Moving Castle, Tales from Earthsea, Ponyo, The Secret World of Ariete, From Up on Poppy Hill, The Wind Rises, The Tale of Princess Kaguya, which is a really great movie, you should check it out. And a whole bunch of other ones that you may not know. So, if you would like a Studio Ghibli postcard, just message me, okay? It's not a chore for me to do this, y'all. I do this because... Let's be real for a second. So, anybody who knows me well knows that I've dealt with severe depression and anxiety for a long period of time. I was taking antidepressants at a higher grade than most for a while, and I have since trained myself to have better coping mechanisms when I do have depressive days and when I do have my panicking moments. So doing this stuff, writing letters, doing story time with Chris, writing in my journal, exercising, helps dissipate those bad feelings. So I do appreciate those who have been incredibly supportive. Like I said, I don't do this for money or any type of compensation. I do it because it's fun. Because it heals me and it allows me to heal somebody else, because I myself have known what it is like to be treated unfairly. So I take it upon myself to not let others feel that way. Because that's fair. Because people deserve love. People deserve kindness and compassion. And it should never be a foreign concept. Ooh, this green tea is awesome. As the kids would say, this is lit. But without further ado, as I've switched up the music, anybody that's a fan of Witch Hunter Robin, which was an early 2000s anime, please message me or comment below. And without further ado, we will begin. Chapter 11, In the Dark Castle. When the meal, which was pigeon pie, cold ham, salad, and cakes, had been brought, and all had drawn their chairs up to the table and begun, the knight continued. You must understand, friends, that I know nothing of who I was and whence I came into the dark world. I remember no time when I was not dwelling, as now, at the court of this all but heavenly queen. But my thought is that she saved me from some evil enchantment, and brought me hither of her exceeding beauty. And this seems to me the likelier, because even now I am bound by a spell from which my lady alone can free me. Every night there comes an hour when my mind is most horribly changed, and after my mind, my body. For first I become furious and wild, and would rush upon my dearest friends to kill them if I were not bound. And soon after that I turn into the likeness of a great serpent, hungry, fierce, and deadly. So they tell me, and they certainly speak truth, for my lady says the same. I myself know nothing of it, for when my hour is past, I awake forgetful of all that vile fit, and in my proper shape and sound mind, saving that I am somewhat wearied. Now the Queen's Majesty knows by her art that I shall be freed from this enchantment when once she has made me king of a land in the overworld and set its crown upon my head. The land is already chosen in the very place of our breaking out. Her earthmen have worked day and night, digging a way beneath it. I have now gone so far and so high that they tunnel not a score of feet beneath the very grass the updwellers of that country walk. It will be very soon now that those uplanders' fate will come upon them. She herself is at the diggings tonight, and I expect a message to go to her. then the thin roof of earth which still keeps me from my kingdom will be broken through, and with her to guide me and 1,000 earthmen at my back, I shall ride forth in arms, fall suddenly on our enemies, slay their chief men, cast down their strong places, and doubtless be their crowned king within 24 hours. It's a bit rough like luck on them, isn't it? Said Eustace. Thou art a lad of wondrous quick working wit, exclaimed the knight, for on my honour I have never thought of it as before. I see your meaning. He looked very slightly troubled for a moment or two, but his face soon cleared and he broke out with another of his loud laughs. But fie on gravity! Is it not the most comical and ridiculous thing in the world to think of them all going about their business, and never dreaming that under their peaceful fields and floors, only a fathom below, there's a great army ready to break out upon them like a fountain, and they had never have to suspect? Why, they themselves, when once the first smart of their defeat is over, can hardly choose but laugh at the thought. I don't think it's funny at all, said Jill. I think you'll be a wicked tyrant. What? Said the knight, still laughing and patting her head in a quite infuriating fashion. Is our little maid a deep politician? But never fear, sweetheart. In ruling that land, I shall do all by the counsel of my lady, who will then be my queen, too. Her word shall be my law, even as my word will be law to the people who have conquered. Where I come from, said Jill, who was disliking him more every minute, they don't think much of men who are bossed about by their wives. Shalt thou think otherwise when thou hast a man of thine own, I warrant you, said the knight, apparently thinking this very funny. But with my lady it is another matter. I am well content to live by her word, who has already saved me from 1,000 dangers. No mother has taken pains more tenderly for her child than the Queen's Grace has for me. Why, look you, amid all her cares and businesses, she rideth out with me in the overworld many a time, and oft to accustom my eyes to the sunlight, and then I must go fully armed and with visor down, so that no man may see my face. And I must speak to no one, for she had found out by art magical that this would hinder my deliverance from the grievous enchantment I lie under. Is not that a lady worthy of a man's whole worship? Sounds a very nice lady indeed, said Puddleglum in a voice which meant exactly the opposite. Kids, that's called throwing shade. Remember that. They were thoroughly tired of the night's talk before they had finished supper. Puddleglum was thinking, I wonder what game that witch is really playing with this young fool. Eustace was thinking, he's a great baby, really, tied to that woman's apron strings. He's a sap. And Jill was thinking, he's the silliest, most conceited, selfish pig I've met for a long time. But when the meal was over, the knight's mood had changed. There was no more laughter about him. Friends, he said, my hour is now very near. I am ashamed that you should see me, yet I dread being left alone. They will come in presently and bind me hand and foot to yonder chair. Alas, so it must be, for in my fury they tell me I would destroy all that I could reach. I say, said Eustace, I'm awfully sorry about your enchantment, of course, but what will those fellows do to us when they come to bind you? They talk of putting us in prison, and we don't like all those dark places very much. We'd much rather stay here to your... better? If we may. It is well thought of, said the knight. By custom none but the Queen herself remains with me in my evil hour. Such is her tender care for my honour that she would not willingly suffer any ears but her own to hear the words I utter in that frenzy. But I could not easily persuade my attendant gnomes that you should be left with me, and I think I hear their soft feet even now upon the stairs. Go through yonder door, it leads into my other apartments, and there either wait my coming when they have unbound me, or if you will return and sit with me in my ravings. They followed his directions and passed out of the room by a door which they had not yet seen open. It brought them, they were pleased to see, not into darkness, but to a lighted corridor. They tried various doors and found water for washing and even a looking-glass. He never offered us a wash before supper, said Jill, drying her face. Selfish, self-centered pig. Are we going back to watch the enchantment, or shall we stay here? Said Eustace. Stay here, I vote, said Jill. I'd much rather not see it. But she felt a little inquisitive all the same. No, go back, said Puddleglum. We may pick up some information, and we need all we can get. I'm sure that Queen is a witch and an enemy, and those Earthmen would knock us on our heads as soon as look at us. There's a stronger smell of danger, lies, and magic and treason about this land than I've ever smelled before, and we need to keep our eyes and ears open. They went back down the corridor and gently pushed the door open. It's all right, said Eustace, meaning that there were no Earthmen about. Then they all came back into the room where they had supped. The main door was now shut, concealing the curtain by which they had first entered. The knight was seated by a curious silver chair, to which he was bound by his ankles, his knees, his elbows, his wrists, and his waist. There was sweat on his forehead, and his face was filled with anguish. Come in, friends, he said, glancing quickly up at them. The fit is not yet upon me. Make no noise, for I told that prying chamberlain that you were in bed. Now, I can feel it coming. Quick, listen while I am master of myself. When the fit is upon me, it well may be that I shall beg and implore you with entreaties and threatenings to loosen my bonds. They say I do. I shall call upon you by all that is most dear and most dreadful. But do not listen. For while I am bound, you are safe. But if once I were up and out of this chair, then first would come my fury, and after that, he shuddered, the change into a loathsome serpent. There's no fear of our loosing you, said Puddleglum. We've no wish to meet wild men or serpents either. I should think not, said Eustace and Jill together. All the same, added Puddleglum in a whisper, don't let's be too sure. Let's be on our guard. We've muffed everything else, you know. He'll be cunning, I shouldn't wonder, once he gets started. Can we trust one another? Do we all promise that whatever he says, we don't touch those cords? Whatever he says, mind you. Rather, said Eustace. There's nothing in the world he can say or do that'll make me change my mind, said Jill. Hush! Something's happening, said Puddleglum. The knight was moaning. His face was as pale as putty, and he writhed in his bonds, and whether because she was sorry for him or for some other reason, Jill thought he looked a nicer sort of man than he had looked before. Ah, he groaned, enchantments, enchantments, the heavy, tangled, cold, clammy web of evil magic buried alive, dragged down under the earth, down into the sooty blackness. How many years is it? Have I lived 10 years or 1,000 years in this pit? Maggot men all around me. Oh, have mercy, let me out, let me go back. Let me feel the wind and see the sky. There used to be a little pool. When you looked down into it, you could see all the trees growing upside down in the water, all green, and below them deep, very deep, the blue sky. He had been speaking in a low voice. Now he looked up, fixed his eyes upon them, and said loud and clear, Quick! I am sane now. Every night I am sane. If only I could get out of this enchanted chair, it would last. I should be a man again. But every night they bind me, and so every night my chance is gone. But you are not my enemies. I am not your prisoner. Quick, cut these cords. Stand fast, steady, said Puddleglum to the two children. I beseech you to hear me, said the knight, forcing himself to speak calmly. Have they told you that if I am released this chair, I shall kill you and become a serpent? I see by your faces that they have. It is a lie. It is at this hour that I am in my right mind. It is all the rest of the day that I am enchanted. You are not earthmen nor witches. Why should you be on their side? For your courtesy, cut my bonds. Steady, 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 said the three travelers to one another. Oh, you have hearts of stone, said the knight. "Believe me, you look upon a wretch who has most suffered, almost more than any mortal can bear. What wrong have I done you, that you should side with my enemies to keep me in such miseries? And the minutes are slipping past. Now you can save me. When this hour is past, I shall be witless again, the toy lapdog, nay, more likely the pawn and tool of the most devilish sorceress that has ever planned the woe of men. And at this night, and of all nights when she is away, you take from me a chance that may never come again."
"This is dreadful. I do wish we'd stayed away till it was over," said Jill.
"Steady," said Puddleglum. The prisoner's voice was now rising into a shriek. "Let me go, I say! Give me my sword! My sword! Once I am free, I shall take such revenge on Earthmen that Underland will talk of it for 1,000 years." "Now the frenzy is beginning," said Eustace. "I hope those knots are all right." "Yes," said Puddleglum. "He'd have twice his natural strength if he got free now, and I'm not clever with my sword. He'd get us both, I shouldn't wonder, and then Jill on her own would be left to tackle the snake." The prisoner was now so straining at his bonds that they cut into his wrists and ankles. "Beware! Beware! One night I did break them, but the witch was there that time. You will not have her to help you tonight. Free me now, and I am your friend. I am your mortal enemy else." "Cunning, isn't he?" said Puddleglum. "For once and for all," said the prisoner, "I adjure you to set me free. By all fears and all loves, by the bright skies of Overland, by the great lion, by Aslan himself, I charge you," said the three travellers as though they had been hurt. "It's the sign," said Puddleglum. "It was the words of the sign," said Eustace more cautiously.
"Oh, what are we to do?"
said Jill. It was a dreadful question. What had been the use of promising one another that they would not on any account set the knight free if they were now to do so the first time he happened to call upon a name they really cared about? On the other hand, what had been the use of learning the signs if they weren't going to obey them? Yet, could Aslan really have meant to unbind anyone, even a lunatic, who asked it in his name? Could it be a mere accident? Or how if the queen of the underworld knew all about the signs and had made the knight learn his name simply in order to entrap them? But then supposing this was the real sign? They had muffed 3 already. They daren't muff the 4th.
"Oh, if only we knew," said Jill.
"I think we do know," said Puddleglum. "Do you mean you think everything will come right if we do untie him?" said Eustace. "I don't know about that. You see, Aslan didn't tell Jill what would happen. He only told her what to do. That fellow will be the death of us once he's up. I shouldn't wonder, but that doesn't let us off following the sign." They all stood watching at one another with bright eyes. It was a sickening moment.
"All right," said Jill suddenly. "Let's get it over with. Goodbye, everyone."
They all shook hands. The knight was screaming by now, and there was foam on his cheeks. "Come, Eustace," said Puddleglum. He and Eustace drew their swords and went over to the captive. "In the name of Aslan," they said, and began methodically cutting the cords. The instant the prisoner was free, he crossed the room in a single bound, seized his own sword, and drew it. "You first!" he cried, and fell upon the silver chair. That must have been a good sword. The silver gave way before its edge like string, and in a moment a few twisted fragments shining on the floor were all that was left. So awesome. Sorry. But as the chair broke, there came from it a bright flash, and a sound like small thunder, and a loathsome smell. "Lie there, vile engine of sorcery, lest your mistress should ever use you for another victim." Then he turned and surveyed his rescuers, and the something wrong, whatever it was, had vanished from his face. "What?" he cried, turning to Puddleglum. "Do I see before me a marshwiggle? A real live honest Narnian marshwiggle?"
"Oh, so you have heard of Narnia, haven't you?" said Jill.
Had I forgotten it when I was under the spell? Asked the knight. Well, that and all other bedevilments are now over. You may well believe that I know Narnia, for I am Rillian, Prince of Narnia, and Caspian the Great King is my father. Your Royal Highness, said Puddleglum, sinking on one knee, we have come hither for no other end than to seek you. And who are you, my other deliverers? Said the prince to Eustace and Jill. We were sent by Aslan himself from beyond the world's end to seek your highness, said Eustace. I'm Eustace, who sailed with him to the island of Ramandu. I owe all three of you a greater debt than I could ever pay, said Prince Rillian. But my father, is he yet alive? He sailed east again before we left Narnia, my lord, said Puddleglum. But your highness must consider that the king is very old. It is 10 to 1. His majesty must die on the voyage. He is old, you say? How long, then, have I been in the power of the witch? It is more than 10 years since your highness was lost in the woods at the north side of Narnia. 10 years, said the prince, drawing his hand across his face, as if to rub away the past. Yes, I believe you. For now that I am myself, I can remember that enchanted life, though while I was enchanted, I could not remember my true self. And now, fair friends, but wait. I hear their feet. Oh, the stairs. Lock the door, boy, or stay. I have a better thought than that. I will fool these earthmen. If Aslan gives me the wit, take your cue from me. He walked resolutely to the door and flung it open. And that is where we will end for tonight. We are going to chapter 12 on Wednesday. And it's about to be an epic battle, y'all. It's going to be great. We only have 4 chapters left. After this, give me a moment because I do not want to mess up this pile. There it is. I think that's it. We have the final book after this. And then we are going to switch gears to some more lighter selections. And then we're going to read the Redwall series for the summer. At least 2 books. They're kind of long, so I'll try to do my best to speed up as much as possible. But this is the last book of the Chronicles of Narnia, the last battle. As I've said before, this book is super duper sad. It is incredibly depressing at times, but it's well worth the read. And we're going to enjoy it. It's going to be fun. Get into it. But like I said, y'all, if you want a Studio Ghibli postcard, if you would like a letter or note card, please message me privately, okay? Like I said, y'all, be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. Take the time to enjoy the simple beauty of life. Even with all the chaos that is currently going on in this world, life can still be quite magical. And as I always say, reading is not just fundamental, it is essential. It is important because it helps you learn about different cultures, different perspectives, different walks of life, and helps broaden your vocabulary and language, and helps us come together and broaden our scope. Whether it's a book, a magazine, a manga, a comic, a novel, a novella, a comic strip, you should always be reading, no matter how old or young you are. I'll see you all next time. Love y'all.